start again. Come in and sit down.
Come on in.
So I'll say again, good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for coming. This is, to my knowledge, first time City of Hoschton has ever had a very informal question and answer session with your mayor, your council. Our goal is to kind of just rotate this. If we like it, y'all like it, we may do this every month. We may probably do a minimum of every quarter. And nothing official in here. We don't have a quorum. You can pretty much ask anything you want to that's got to do with city business. We'll try to answer it. If we don't have an answer, we'll do our best to get you an answer. I'm Shannon Sale. I'm the current interim city manager. Mayor Lauren O'Leary, Councilman Tracy Carswell. Next month you may have a different crowd. We can have up to three, because 4 makes a quorum. So I would just ask you tonight, kind of for a platform, if you'll raise your hand, I'll pick you out, and if you'll stand up, speak as loud as you can. First of all, I'm pretty much deaf, but we want to make sure I hear you and everybody else hears you. Tell us where you live. You'd be surprised at how many people live in the zip code of 30548 and think they live in the city limits of Hoschton. We get this from voting to garbage services to water services. We had somebody this week in Village of Deaton Creek hunting for a City of Hoschton police officer, which is in Hall County and across the river. So they thought they lived in the city limits of Hoschton. So we're going to try to limit it tonight to an hour, and we can go from there. Who's first? Ladies, fine. Yes, sir.
You have a first.
I'll go first. My name is Jack Flint. I just recently moved to Crestwood. My question is there any plans for any annexation of any property, or is the City of Houston pretty much landlocked?
I mean, anybody can apply for annexation, zoning, but I don't think.
There's nothing on the books.
Nothing's on the books right
No
now.
expansion for the city.
Not
limits.
currently, no. But anybody can apply for it at any time, but nothing right now.
And you have to touch the city limits to
Yes.
apply for it.
So your land has to currently border what is the City of Hoschton before you can apply. But nothing on the books now, if that was your
And,
answer.
before we go too much further, I'll tell everybody here too. The lady up here in my front right corner, her and her partner have multiple lawsuits against the City of Hoschton. I would just tell you, when you're speaking, be aware of that. So everybody in here knows why the camera's being pointed at us.
All right, enough of that. Okay. All right, do we have any other ones? Who's up? Yes, sir.
Well, he
Good to
just
see you again.
Gary McGowan, I live over at 205 Quail Run. It is in the city limits, as you well know. I didn't even know about the lawsuits, and since you brought it up, I'm now very curious on why and who is getting sued. Is it the city or is it you personally?
It's actually all of our sitting council members, myself included, along with city staff for
Goes back multiple years.
multiple years.
Yes, and really with the litigation, the attorney's going to tell us
We
not
can't
to
discuss
discuss
it
it.
publicly. But I will say, just because this part is public record, it is all of us being sued.
Okay, and to expand on his question with the annexation of properties. So it has to be the actual property, it can't be a neighborhood? That
I mean, it
has to
has
touch
to
the
be
border?
property, but a developer can come and develop the land for a neighborhood.
Existing developments, I'm just curious about.
Oh,
so-
an existing?
Oh, no.
Okay. So if you're a house in an existing neighborhood, that person can apply for annexation, but not the whole neighborhood is part of that.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Any piece of property that touches City of Hoschton property can apply for annexation.
Yes,
And is Crestwind and Twin Lakes part of the Hoschton?
yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
They are
And
citizens.
was that annexed or was that always part?
It was annexed.
It was annexed.
But now, to some extent, almost every piece of property in Hoschton was annexed into Hoschton.
No, I didn't know whether
Other
Crestman,
than probably the town square where we're sitting right now, the depot.
and does the town venture out and seek annexation, or is that always coming from a private citizen?
No, it comes and they apply,
They apply, okay, so you guys don't actually actively look.
look for a plan.
I know one of the meetings several months back, there was one of the farms that was up for sale and development, and you guys annexed it, or he applied for annexation. I think he was denied from Brazelton, and you guys actually approved his development because you annexed that property, correct?
Sounds like purple.
They came to us.
They came to you. And what was the name of that development?
Purple.
Purple, okay. All right. And is that moving forward still?
I think they're in a planning phase right now, if I'm not mistaken.
I might have more questions, that's all I have.
No, you're good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
If y'all want chairs, if
There's
there's not any
some over
back
here.
there, you can grab a
Just
couple of
grab
these and
any.
roll them into place if you want
Yeah.
to. Who's next?
I have kind of a list and not a lot of big things.
Sure. Good to see you again, Miss Brown.
Hi, Christina Brown, 205 Quail Run, City Limits of Hoschton. Couple of things. I too am hard of hearing, and I was wondering if the city council meetings, sometimes I have a lot of trouble hearing some of the discussion. Can we get microphones at each of the city council seats?
So, we can, and I wouldn't say that we wouldn't. I will say though that our new city hall is equipped with microphones, speakers throughout, ability to live stream all of our meetings. So it's gonna be designed to be able to do like an all-purpose when we get into the new city hall.
So if not before then.
Yes, ma'am.
then. Another thing that came up is sometimes these developers will come up and they'll say, look at this beautiful building, and we can't see it. And I know you're the ones voting on it, but it would be great if we could see it. So I'm thinking, in a past life, I was a school teacher, I'm thinking overhead projector, something.
I think actually that it's in the
We're
plans,
gonna have some
right?
screens and.
Behind
Yeah.
us so that you can see all of that.
And will it pull up only from a computer, or if somebody came in and all they had was a paper presentation, could you somehow, will there be the hardware, software combination to
Could
be able to take something that I just give you right this second and
Right.
display it for everyone to see?
Well, and even if, go ahead.
So in our new building, we will have, they ask us, the developers will ask us, do you want it by paper or do you want it digital?
Okay, so you'll
And
ask.
so, right now, we ask for it for paper,
Okay.
for obvious reasons, but when we do go to our new building, we will ask for it digital. And then that way you can see it, we'll have TVs,
Good,
on both sides so that everybody can see it.
beautiful.
And to piggyback off of that, if there ever was something that you wanted to share, I mean, you could easily just email it to me and then
Yeah.
we would be able to set it up to where we could,
Yeah, it's more
depending on what it
like when they
is.
were talking about the convenience store, what it's gonna look like, or when they were talking about a proposed development.
Well, that was the first time we saw that too.
Well, Nunley Woods, they came in and, they had some plats and things that were all directed towards you, which is
Okay.
appropriate, but it would be nice to also be privy to that.
Sure.
The city comprehensive plan, do I have to come to City Hall to get a copy, or is that on our website?
It will be on our website. Has it been posted yet?
But it will.
We
What,
just
the
signed it
updated one?
in, at our last meeting, so it should be very soon. It'll
The
be online.
comprehensive plan is on there. What we were doing this week was just the update to the capital
CIE.
improvement element.
Okay, so
But
the,
they're two different things. The comprehensive plan is already on there. The update to the CIE that we just voted in this past
Okay.
Tuesday, that will, we're finalizing it, but it'll get posted.
okay,
Or, I mean, you're always welcome just to email the city and they can send you a copy.
sure, I just hate to be a burden.
Oh,
because
no.
If every citizen individually asked for these things, it would be difficult, I'm sure.
It's easy if you email us, we
Okay.
can quickly get to you.
If you
Okay.
guys need some chairs, there's some roller ones if you
You're
want.
welcome to come grab them
Yeah.
real quick and put them into place.
Up to you.
And I don't wanna dominate, so I'll sit
And
back
y'all can
down.
take that down if you're done looking at it. That's just one of the first renditions of the, renderings of the front face of the building,
We'll actually contact them.
Where's that gonna be?
Right next door to
right
us.
next door.
In
All
the
the
green, in the
green.
green space.
It will use up the whole green space?
It will.
What's the timeline for construction?
We should be in the building, I mean, we know how this goes, it is contractors, but our goal is by the end of the year. So I believe we have all of the material in now for the framework, so they should be starting any day. I know they were doing a couple of things with Georgia Power. Actually, while we're here, we'll have City Hall closed at 1 o'clock tomorrow. I'm so sorry, next Tuesday, because they'll have all the power shut off while they redo lines or whatever it is that they do.
I don't want to dominate with somebody else next time, real quick, I got.
Go for it.
Okay.
They're here to
They want to
listen
know
to
if that water tower's coming down.
We don't know yet.
It will, yeah.
As far as it being actively used, I would say no, but I have heard that they were thinking of leaving it up just for sentimental value maybe, or I'm not sure, but using
Aesthetic
it.
of the town.
So it costs money to tear it down, it's a loss to us. If it stays up, we have to maintain it just for the structure, we don't want it blowing over to hit anybody. You know, I floated this idea to several people, and I floated it here tonight, because somebody here might have contacts. I saw one that was done this way in Canada. I'd like to put an elevator underneath it, cut big windows in it, and make a restaurant up
Wow.
A giant candle.
Is it gonna
there.
rotate?
In the future.
I'm floating this to everybody that's in the restaurant business. We call it Take Tower Restaurants. So if you know anybody that's in the restaurant business,
Takeout would be fun.
that interest them, have come talk to us. We could use the parking space from it, for sure, but we will not, it's at a lower elevation than the new water tanks we're building, so it will come out of service. Matter of fact, it'll probably come out of service soon. But if it stays up, you know, we'll either have to leave water in it, you have to do something to, because the weight of the water in it helps stabilize it. So if it's empty, you have to do something else or take it down.
I'm just gonna throw out my last two things and then sit down so somebody else can talk. But if you run out of time answering anybody else's question, I have two things. You could educate me as to what makes it to a council meeting agenda, because there's a lot of stuff, and some of it you have to handle behind closed doors, because we just you can't have council meetings for every decision made by the city, and I get that. But I just guess I'm not educated as to what actually gets heard by the public and decided sort of in that forum versus just city operations. We're gonna buy this piece of property and we're gonna do that kind of stuff. So that's one, I just need a general education, and maybe somebody else does too. And the other thing that I'd like somebody to talk about is city taxes.
Okay. So to answer your first question on what gets discussed, any city business we can discuss publicly except litigation, real estate. So litigation, obviously lawsuits, other types of contracts, real estate, and employees. Obviously, if you have an employee and you want to discuss them, you don't do it in the public. Everything else is city business, which we can discuss publicly, except those three things, and that can only be done in executive session.
However, when you have let's say we're wanting to buy a piece of property, we do go behind closed doors to do the negotiating part of it.
Which is real
But we
estate.
always have to come out in the public to vote if we're gonna buy it. So there's never anything that we buy that you
Don't know.
don't know, that's not on a public agenda.
Okay.
And y'all, please forgive me. I didn't introduce Jennifer because I just assumed everybody knows who Jennifer is. This is Jennifer Harrison, the city clerk. And she runs the clerk.
She runs
She runs, couldn't make us, Jennifer, I'm so sorry I didn't introduce you.
Everybody knows Jennifer.
And she's speaking, I'm like, everybody knows her, but there's so many newcomers to Hoschton, y'all may not have known.
But yes, Christina, on her point is, even if we do purchase property, as soon as we make the decision, it's voted on in executive session, we have to immediately come out and vote publicly so that the public knows what we're buying and knows who voted in favor or of opposition in purchasing property. So it's done publicly.
She was asking like, how does this stuff get on the agenda? You know,
Yeah.
anything that's zoning related always
Comes to
has to
the
come on
city.
the agenda.
That's clear.
Generally, any major purchases, stuff that's outside of the budget, stuff like that usually comes to the agenda.
I mean, we can put anything on the agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, I can sit in a meeting and make a motion to add something to an agenda.
This was put on the agenda to start this, was to vote on it one night, I think. Yeah.
Just an
Then we're
FYI.
gonna
Yeah,
start doing
I
it.
mean, literally any city business legally allowed to be discussed in public can be discussed in public.
Ms. Brown, are you wanting to know who puts stuff on the agenda?
Jennifer. Jennifer. It's true.
No, well, not necessarily. The mayor is the one that sets the agendas.
Okay.
So, I and Shannon mostly,
Organize it all for me.
yeah, we recommend a staff recommendation of what needs to be on the agenda. But ultimately, it is the mayor's decision if she wants it on there, if she doesn't want on it, per our charter. So she dictates what goes on those agendas. We decide what goes on the agenda. Now, we have a budget that, you know, gets adopted at the end of the year, for the next year. In those budgets, we might have a tractor, we might have 2 vehicles, we might have a piece of property that we want, you know, whatever, it's in that agenda. Once the council approves that, budget, we don't have to go before the item, for the, you know, we don't have to go 3 months later and say, hey, we wanna get a tractor for public works, because we've already approved it in the budget. So, that kinda helps to determine, but things come up, you know, we might need to, buy a new vehicle, and we didn't put it in the budget, that has to go before the council. So if it's not in the budget, most of the time it's gonna go before the council. But again, if we just want, you know, to make a broad decision so the public really knows something really in depth, sometimes we'll even put back on there just as a due diligence to the community.
So that it's visible to everybody.
Right.
That's all that really is. But if it's in the or in the budget, they can. If it's not, then they come to us and we approve it, any type of purchase.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, city taxes.
City taxes. So, needless to say, I mean, that has not been approved, just so we're clear, it's not an official thing, it hasn't been voted on. Will not be voted on until after public hearings, which begin in August 2nd, 8th?
It's, let me get my calendar, sorry.
It's on the website.
Yeah,
It was
it's
published
listed
in the
on,
paper today, it's on the front page of the paper.
I can't remember the exact date, I will find it, she'll find it.
The 11th
But it
and
starts in
18th.
August.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go,
The
yep.
11th and 18th.
So we have to do 3 public meetings.
And maybe the
Of
third.
course, naturally, everybody comes, we listen to what everybody thinks about it. And then after that, we have all of our public hearings, then we will vote on it. Naturally, it'll be done publicly.
Yes, so we'll have, the first meeting will be on Thursday, the 11th at 6 p.m. at the train depot. The second one will be, at 10 a.m. on the 18th at the train depot. The third one will be on the at 6 p.m. at the train depot the same day. After that, we will have a special called meeting, for the council to vote.
So is that kind of like your, I mean, that's, I know it's a broad answer, but until we start public hearings and until it's voted on, there's really,
Public
Not
hearings,
much.
are we gonna be limited by our city attorney as to time we can speak, or number of people who can speak?
never
and all
been
that?
to one actually, as far as the
Okay.
city.
I'm
I know the
sure there'll be
council
limits.
meetings.
There-
There'll be
Council
limits.
meetings are very structured, and you gotta get it.
Yeah,
But I think something like initiating a tax where there is none, and it sounds like it's gonna be a substantial tax, that is already gonna be on our bills in October, should it be approved, I think that's gonna stir a lot of conversation.
It will, he won't let people get up and say the same thing over and over and over. You know,
Maybe
when
one
a
at a
point's
time that
made,
gets heard.
and there'll be so many minutes to each one, there'll be a format for it.
yeah.
Hopefully it will be enough that we can get some points out there.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why we
That's what it's
hold,
for.
yeah, that's why we hold the meetings and we hold 3 of them, 2 at 6 o'clock PM, 1 at 10 o'clock. We try and spread it out to where people with different schedules can still attend them.
Speaking of which,
Anybody else?
6 o'clock council meetings, just throwing that out there. 5:30 is really hard, I come straight out of OR some days.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And we'll revisit that.
we'll revisit that, certainly.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Gina Bowling, I live in the village at Hoschton. I appreciate you bringing this drawing out because that was one of my biggest questions is this gonna flow with, the new city hall is gonna flow with the look that
Yes,
we
ma'am.
have now, or is it gonna be a big metal structure?
No.
Okay, so I appreciate that, thank you. My next question is about the cemetery. So I know, I missed the last council meeting, but I know that letters were sent out, I understand, that people had like till August 1st to clean up their cemetery plot. My biggest question is, and I can tell some people might have already read that and worked on it, the grass has not been cut in a while. I wonder if y'all lost like the grass is this tall, with the things growing around the cemetery. And what are you gonna do about the brick and mortar things that people have built where it says no benches, none of that, and people have built their own little benches all around? Like, how are we gonna clean that up? Like this, and I have to drive by there every day. 4 years, I can already tell a difference with the flowers that are 10 years old, that were poinsettias, that need to be removed. Like, there are no guidelines for people to follow, and the whirligigs and the solar lights, and it just seems like it's gotten worse over the last 4
Y'all
years.
can answer this one?
Yeah, and we should have ordinances, but he has been
Yeah.
working on this.
So, there's that certain section of that cemetery that do have ordinances and do have rules, and this is how you're supposed to do it. And that's why those letters were sent out because of the complaints about it, and it's a disaster.
Yeah.
And the cities are written, and this goes back well before any of us, but in that section, it was really, you wanted the tombstone and a flower in the tombstone, so a mower could go up and around and go real fast, because, you know, we spend city money maintaining that cemetery. Now, I was out there this week, I don't remember any grass up that high.
It's about that high. I mean,
Well, I didn't through the whole thing,
it's
but
up there.
We'll definitely have it looked at and taken
Yeah,
care
I
of.
just
To answer
haven't
that.
seen it look like that
you
since we
mentioned
lived here.
the brick and mortar, and
Yeah.
we're gonna take it all up.
Okay.
We gave them 30 days notice, and our crews are gonna go out there, and everything that's in that section that applies to it, we're gonna pick it all up, we're gonna throw it away.
Okay.
Next
And-
week.
Yeah, probably next week.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're gonna maintain that probably on a monthly or a quarterly basis to try to keep it like that. I mean, it's ridiculous how some of it is.
Yeah. Okay.
And our goal is to clean that up and make it look more presentable.
And
for us
maybe
all.
like we did before, have, a city cleanup, do things like that. I know other cities do that.
I think we
Duluth does
had
that.
one.
We had one last year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you did, yeah.
James
Well-
Lawson
One of our
Yeah.
council members
usually
does
puts
it.
that together.
Yeah. So, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Who's next? Oh, don't get that
We're
early.
new to the community, just moved in, excited to be here. We're gonna
Well,
celebrate
welcome.
and borrow an old house in town. I understand, and I apologize if y'all already talked about it, but that the city has bought Larry's garage.
Yes.
And I know there's that section right behind there, there was some signs up as far as what was going behind, the property behind that. Can you just give me a 1-minute summary of where that's going, what the plans are?
So when you say the property behind Larry's, are you talking about like on the corner?
There was I guess advertisement or maybe a park or something, there was some notice.
Okay, so
It's
we
not right
are,
behind it, but it's.
so we call it the Mulberry property, so we
Okay.
own 7 acres, right around 7 acres right there, and an
Okay.
older house. We are in the middle of designing what we're gonna do with it, but we're doing nature trails, playground equipment hopefully. We're trying to figure out what we're gonna do with that house.
Okay,
Outdoor, get people outdoor, of course, everybody knows about the parking garage. Again, we are not at the point where that's even gonna be voted on right now, but we are gonna do temporary parking, so we're gonna put some gravel right there, so that fall festivals or just having extra parking, cause as you see, there's not a ton of it for the city.
okay,
If
So
you-
we'll gravel it.
If you look now, there's a large machine over there. It was working when I drove over here for the meeting,
okay,
taking trees down.
okay.
So
it's in
the trees that are
process.
coming down, you'll see as they're coming out, there's a silt fence protecting the creek that's naturally there. That's actually the springhead for the creek that flows from there all the way down the Mulberry River. But those trees are being cleared for parking immediately, and then at time where a parking deck falls into line, it would go in that section that's closer to Larry's garage and serve the whole community.
Okay,
But we'll be able to use that area right behind Larry's garage as well as the area on the other side of the creek line for parking during fall festival or whatever events. So we'll have more parking available. Last year's fall festival was much larger than the years before.
It was a big event.
Very big
Huge
event.
event.
And we're expecting this event to dwarf last year's. So. we
but
need
it'll be a
parking.
part of it will be a park area too?
Yes, nature trails. So we actually have a group of volunteers that are working on designs.
Okay.
So the city really, I mean, we put like our input in, but the volunteers, excuse me, are the ones designing it. And then we'll approve it once it's presented to us. I mean, naturally, if anything needs to be changed or adjusted, we will, but that's right now what we're working on. But it is pretty much primarily nature trails, playground, getting kids outdoors, families outdoors, not just kids.
We bought that property a little over a year ago as a multi-use property. From everything from recreation to the parking deck, maybe even a future administration building. She mentioned the house that's over there. It's available. We want to lease that house, so, you know, whether it be a restaurant or office space, something like that. Anybody here, spread the word, have them come see me. I mean, there's lots of opportunities there. At one time, part of us thought about tearing it down, but we thought it's got really good structure to it. We put a new roof on it last week. It needs some major work, but it is a beautiful structure.
It is.
Really is. Yeah.
So I want to say it's one of the oldest houses in Hoschton. That's what Diane Blankenship was telling me yesterday.
I see her back there.
Is she back there? There she is. Hey. One of the oldest houses in Hoschton. So we wanted to preserve that. We didn't want to tear it down.
I
It's history.
like all that. So the garage, what's the plans for the,
Restaurants and retail.
okay.
Kind of
And
like if you're familiar with Braselton's 1904 building,
Yes.
something similar to that.
Oh, I love it.
it's
So that's-
it'd be a solid 2-year project too.
Yeah,
so
it's not open
don't-
in its doors
don't
next
think
week.
you're gonna eat there next spring. We're gonna rehabilitate it, you know, structurally and historically.
Yeah, we're
And
gonna
make it
keep
look
the
right.
same look of it. I mean, naturally, we're gonna clean it up, make sure it's structurally sound, but we're gonna keep it looking like that
That's,
to fit this area.
that's the current game plan.
Okay.
I am, hi, I'm Lori. I'm new to the area since October from Gwinnett. So I've never come to, I've been to several of these meetings and at the train depot, but I honestly, I'm just starting to learn about things and I don't know, you all may have come to these all the time. I don't know
Ma'am,
what I'm doing.
This is
but
the first meeting this has ever been.
Oh, is that right?
So you've never been to one of
Oh,
these.
there you go, there you go, okay, good.
Perfect
Nice to see
timing.
you all, okay, so I'm trying to just learn and have some, input into, at the local level, because we have to, so, what do you recommend, I mean, how often are the meetings, I know that the
So,
11th and, there's 3
We
meetings.
do our monthly council meetings, and then we also do a quarterly Q&A or a town hall, which we did last time at the train depot.
Yeah.
Well, now we're working into doing a monthly Q&A. So our
Okay.
goal is, I was worried about turnout. We had great turnout for our very first one.
Okay.
So we're gonna shoot for every month doing one, and my goal is to rotate the days and the time of days so that people with different schedules
Good.
still have time to attend.
Good, good.
It's like this one was Thursday at 6, well, maybe next month, Wednesday at 2. Just kind of rotating it out so that everybody gets the opportunity
So
to.
with the recent elections and just hearing, you see Braselton and it's so lovely and built up, and I know that took, 15 years to get, and, I'm in a new community over here, and so Hoschton, the build out, where is this? Is this across from where the Publix is gonna be?
It's right next door.
Oh, this is right next door.
Where that green space
This-
is next to the coffee
Right
shop.
here.
Okay, so this is actually up. then.
This is the city's project that will be breaking ground.
Oh, I
You'll
see.
see the green
That'll be the
grass
new
out
city
there,
hall.
Yeah, I saw
orange
that.
flags on the
Okay,
corners,
yeah.
that's the parameters of the
Okay.
building. So they're actually working forward on it. If you look on the street behind there,
Uh-huh.
there's a fence on a vacant lot that's encapsulating or enclosing the structural steel to build this building.
Ah,
So with the way things are these days, really needed the structural steel on the ground before roll the ball forward.
yeah.
So that ball's rolling forward.
Okay,
Georgia
good.
Power's relocating power lines basically over the next few days, and we should see some earth
Okay.
being
So then what
excavated.
happens to this? Is this getting
We'll rent it.
preserved?
We'll
Okay.
probably have somebody come in and wanna lease it from us.
We already have a list of
We got
people
a
that.
list.
I mean,
And-
long
and-
list.
and-
Sandwich
That's
places.
awesome. So you were talking
bakery.
about the garage and how that's being developed, and then further down is, gonna be a new Publix there, and then across the street from that, what is that? Do you know?
That's called, he's named it the Hoschton Exchange, and it'll be restaurants and retail also. 30,000 feet, I think. 30,000 feet is the current plan on it.
4 restaurant spaces.
Something.
Okay, thank you.
But I'll interject, you said you're new to the
Yes.
community. Have you been involved in a city before?
No,
Okay.
other than a neighbor who ran for the Georgia Senate and won. But no, but I definitely want to see.
Well, the reason I ask is getting information, contacting myself as a council member, any of us council members, call in, if you, otherwise, to the City Hall number and ask to sit down with us. I'll gladly come and meet with you directly, one-on-one, or a small group, or any of us elected officials.
Really? Okay, great.
We
And
do have
explain, and help you to understand
Yes.
as much as we can. I mean, it's, the workings of a city is very complicated.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're going from, someone asked earlier about annexation. Yes, Twin Lakes, Crestwind, that entire development was annexed into the city of Hoschton. And that was done back in 2018-19.
That's where I lived on Hayden.
But when that happened, that doubled the size, the square miles of the city of Hoschton. So we're catching up. And we've been a town, I mean, we're not even really digital yet. We're trying our best to get there as fast as possible. But you can imagine 100+ years of documentations and fragments of documentations that are having to be kept up with and figure out how to get that into a digital format as we go digital internally. And we've done quite a bit of that in all the departments in the last year. But, you know, one thing I will say is we are a very understaffed city. And right now it's hard to hire people. We want qualified people. But I tell you, your city employees work harder than you could ever imagine. Just plug in, ask us about what they're doing if you're not sure. Between the staff that Jennifer has to handle here in the building as well as our public works, and you know, and that's all expanding and growing. So you could call it growing pains or whatever, but I think one of the things that impresses me is I really believe you've got very conscientious people in office as well as on staff that are wanting to move us forward so that what you mentioned about over in Brazelton, you know, they've had those revenues and those times in the past. We're now, once and for all, experiencing that. So we see these pieces. I think January, February, March of next year, as this building is being used and other things are popping up, it's really going to be visible what all's been going on the last 2 to 3 years.
And I'll tell you, population-wise, you know, Hoschton, most of it comes out of the Crestwind Twin Lakes development, but overall in Hoschton, we add about 25 people a week to the population of Hoschton right now.
We're growing fast.
Yes, sir.
I'm Dan Bailey. I live at Village at Hoschton. So we come out on 53. Any plans to put a traffic light here?
DOT, Georgia DOT.
So you have nothing, the city has nothing to do
There is
with
no.
it?
So the DO, 53 is very tricky. It's the artery of our city, not just our city, but Brazelton too. And we are unable to do anything to 53 or any state highway, and that's not just Hoschton, I mean, that's any city. So we have reached out several times to the DOT. I personally have spoken with Senator Frank Ginn, who is on the Transportation Board. He has reached out to DOT, and I mean, it's trying to get them out here. I know they're working on a study. I know that once Coulter gets a certain amount of COs pulled, they'll have to do a study, so it's a work in progress, but it is frustrating. I understand.
And that day will probably come.
Very
I
quickly.
mean, that day will probably come for Hoschton, that we'll have at least one red light. Maybe, when I was growing up here, we used to have a caution light at that intersection.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're building so many homes down on 53 is just amazing. And that's just gonna bring more traffic. So I just, but it sounds like it is on their agenda.
Yes, sir. We make sure we stay in the spotlight with the DOT.
Diane.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Diane Blankenship, and I brought the old caution light to City Hall this week, and it's being put in the archive, so you all will see it again at some point in time.
So the city now has that.
No.
One thing I'll interject about DOT and this stretch of the Highway 53, one thing that I have learned, and we are communicating as much as we can with the Department of Transportation, They know our needs. We've done what we can do other than grabbing them by the shirt and forcing them to do something, which won't get anything done. But they have their steps and protocols in place. And I was talking to our police chief, and this is something I didn't realize it was that difficult, but to move a speed limit sign on a state highway, it may take up to 3 years to have that happen. You can't just go out and move the sign. You'll go to jail. If we move their signs, somebody's gonna get fined for it. They have to have traffic study, they have to have cause. I mean, it's unfortunate because 5 or 6 wrecks will get you there that are serious. But unfortunately, what we do is keep growing, and they see that. And we keep them, we were able, I guess it was probably 2020, DOT came in, sat down and talked with us. And, we were able to exchange input, but they made it very clear, probably have a traffic light down here. It's probably gonna be 3 to 5 years from now before it happens, and that was 2 years ago. And we don't, they're not giving us updates, so we don't know if their timelines are where they're at. But I do know to get a second and third traffic light is even tougher. So getting one, like Shannon said, the day's coming, we're gonna have one. How long it'll take to get 2, 3, and 4, we don't know.
And I'll add this to it. People always say, the roads can't handle the traffic. Have you seen any of our roads collapse because of traffic? They don't collapse. You just don't like it because you can't go the speed you want to go.
Can't get to work.
Well, trust me, DOT likes slower speeds. It's safer. It takes you longer to get from point A to point B, but the roads handle the traffic just fine. The roads out here probably handle, 100 times what traffic is on. It'll just be at a much, much slower speed. So that,
Well, maybe
just
the
put
lights,
that in the reason, really, that's how DOT thinks a lot of times.
maybe the lights need to be longer, to let more people.
Well, I don't
go through.
think it's so much the speed as the ability to turn left.
Amen.
And I agree.
Yeah, that's an aggravating spot.
Yeah.
I
Turn
agree.
left.
But again, it's not like we don't care, we're not trying, we contact them often.
And feel free to call DOT yourself.
Yes.
Feel free. I mean, the more people that call them, the more different people that call them, I think the better results you're gonna get, the faster results you're gonna get.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Ms. Brown.
While I hear that it is on the DOT, and I do fully understand that, I'm hoping that the council considers every rezoning request for denser and denser housing and commercial enterprises and gas stations and things that are gonna generate more traffic. I'm hoping that that is all tempered with the knowledge that this is a dangerous intersection. I hate to have to prove it by having an accident there. It's literally, I make a left out of there every morning to get to work too, and it's very difficult and it backs up, but everybody knows all that. We do have control over the growth and the types of businesses and the traffic that we add to the situation within limits, because Winder's dumping everything down that they can build too, I get that. But we need to do what we can do until that light is on the agenda for the state DOT, and it's not, so it's a few years in the future, until that's literally a project on their list or perhaps in progress, we have a responsibility to pay attention to that, to keep that in mind when we pass these rezonings and these dense housing, super dense housing projects and all that. Because it is dangerous. I disagree with you. The roads, the blacktop can handle it. It's not about speed getting to work. It literally, sometimes in order to get to work on time, I have to go, ooh, yes, no. That's not cool. That is not a road handling traffic when I have to judge whether I will survive that left turn.
But Ms. Brown, I'm assuming you're headed to I-85.
No, I'm not. I can turn left and go down windy, what's that, Jackson Trail or something. I go to Athens. I work in Athens.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get to 129 to smoothly sail down that
I
road.
mean, there's multiple routes.
There is, but is that really an answer when you're doubling your population in a matter of 2-3 years?
We're not, I want to just interject.
I just
We're
want to
not
be
doubling the
responsible in our
population.
growth. I'm sorry?
I just want to interject, we're not doubling the population. The population's doubling the population.
Well, the annexation of the land, that has Crestwind and Twin Lakes and all that.
And there's no
Yes,
going
our
back. There's no
approval of
returning.
zoning Townhouses crammed right there, townhouses on Town Center Parkway, townhouses. Yes, we're doubling the population by approving these projects.
The people moving to our city are not bringing all of their work with them and all of that. They're leaving here to go somewhere else. So what we're
Which is
building
causing
to
the traffic.
support and to give a structure for, and to give a place for people to work, play, and live, is based on that population growing. You
It
cut
has
the
to be
population
controlled, the
back,
speed of it has
that
to be
traffic
controlled so
light
the
will be even
infrastructure
more
can
years
survive.
down the road.
It's the speed and the density, and we need to control it.
People
to be
need to learn how to
responsible.
back off this, the gas pedal, they need to learn how to be a little more patient. And, you know, I spent 20 years working in Metro Atlanta, living in North Gwinnett County. I had to get up at 4:30 a lot to be able to get to my job on time. So
I've
that's
done
what I
some.
did.
And that's why you moved here.
Yeah,
And that's why we all moved here.
I just want to stay
Yes,
responsible.
sir. Yes, sir, that's
Not
why we
exactly
all
when I
moved.
moved here, but,
Everybody that moves here wants to be the last one to move here.
right.
But we can be responsible and grow. That's all.
I think we're being very responsible. You gotta take, you've gotta take advantage of the economic opportunities that you have.
Yes, sir.
I think what most of us are talking about is the density of the building. Building townhouses creates, like, next to our development is the Nunley property. And it was zoned for 1 acre zoning, and they're building 55 homes, okay, so.
55?
55 on 20 acres.
55 and 28, so it's the density, so there's an extra 30 some odd homes there that would not be there. And that's what we're saying, so 30 more homes are gonna be leaving that road, 30 more homes are gonna be driving down that road, getting stuck in that traffic. It's the density, we don't mind the building, yes, every one of us moved here, every one of us bought a house here, and we understand. You lived in Gwinnett, I lived in Lawrenceville, I got out of there because it was crazy. You can't even go down the Mall of Georgia anymore. The problem is just the density, and so if you take a property that's 20 acres, if it's 1 acre zoning, and you add 55 homes to a 20 acre lot, that's just 30 more people, 35 more people that are getting up in the morning and driving down the street. That's all. I mean, I don't want to be confrontational, and it's that we have to drive it. And if we have to speed out of that exit just to get out to onto 53, it is a danger. And you're not living my life and I'm not living yours, but if I got to do that every day, sooner or later, the chances are I'm going to get hit. Because people put their blinkers on to turn down Covered Bridge Road, and guess what? They don't turn, sometimes they go straight, and now you're stuck. Oh my God, I almost got clipped by this truck. Because you're taking the first available opportunity to get on the road, thinking this guy is turning right onto Covered Bridge Road, and now you take off, and you're almost getting T-boned. Because you're waiting there 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes, and it's frustrating just because you gotta go to work. I mean, we don't wanna get up at 4:30 in the morning to go to Atlanta. You know, we wanna get up, 5 minutes earlier than normal, but we still wanna be able to be safe about it. But that's not why I got up. You were talking about the police department. Can you guys give us, are we gonna have a municipal court, or, I mean?
We have a municipal court.
What are the hours of the police? Can we bring them at any hour, and will they be
You
the
dial
ones?
911, depending if they're on duty, it gets routed depending on where they're on duty.
So,
Well, what
our
are they
police
on
chief
duty?
is let me rephrase that, we did just hire a part-timer, but when I say part-timer, I think he works like 4 days
It is
a
odd
month.
shifts.
I mean, just very odd shifts just to help out, but, Police Chief Hill is the only one person that we have. And
Full-time.
he works Monday through, full-time, yes,
Okay.
sir. Monday through Friday, 7 to 4-ish, around about. So you dial 911, well, dispatch, they know his hours, they're gonna route the call to him if he's on duty, if it's not,
Okay.
it's Jackson County who's responding.
Okay.
But again, I mean, we're interviewing and still looking for other officers as
And-
well.
Curiosity, do we, I see 3 cars, the police chief car plus 2 others. How do we, how does that determine how many police officers we need going forward? Is there a density per 1,000 that you have so many police officers? Like, do we need 3, do we need 1, do we need,
The ratio, I think that the state said that we heard was like 1 officer per 600 people, I believe was the recommended ratio, probably by some,
That's
Yeah,
someone
some
who-
study.
That's someone who was a cop and a lot more cops. Okay, I just was curious,
Yeah.
And I'll say this too, everybody talks about density, growth and stuff. How many of you live here more than 2 years? How many of you are unhappy with the increase in your property value?
I have to pay tax
Gotta
on
pay
it.
the tax.
City tax now.
So when you sell it, they just charge you
So
moving
y'all
tax.
think your property's worth less now?
No, we're here for the long haul, so we want it to only explode when we sell the house.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I know where you're going, I agree, I know what you're saying, I agree.
Who's next? What, I was gonna talk about,
Oh.
I think y'all like this.
So one thing that we've kind of been playing around with, because we have the DDA who helps, work on planning for the city, beautification, restaurants, if we're gonna do restaurants, just, they have a whole big plate that they work on. But one thing we're shooting for is a golf cart community. And when I say that, I mean like, at some point, we are going to, which, it's already been discussed, we're gonna take care of this playground. When I say take care of it, I mean get rid of it, because we're moving the playground equipment, or not moving it, we're moving the playground but purchasing new equipment, and we're going to repave there. Well, we're also adding golf cart parking spots. So she's excited about it. So we're hoping that
I'm from New York, so this is,
There
this,
you go.
this little thing is a joke to me, everybody talking about all this density and all that. Listen, I mean, like the gentleman says, I lived in Jefferson for 15 years, in Georgia for 20-something, Florida for 20-something. I didn't just come from New York. And I get on, Sean, thank you, I know you're Sean. I had to leave some of these websites because, everybody talking about they don't want growth and da-da-da-da. But I like to make $150,000, $200,000 on my house, too. I also left Jefferson because after 15 years, there was nothing there. And you get real tired of having to drive 30, 40, 50 minutes just to go get diapers for your grandkid or whatever it might be. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, so I mean, it would help with traffic for sure, especially on the weekends, but just things like that. I mean, there's so many ideas on where we could put a restaurant, and a lot of people are opposed to any type of business coming here, but you have to think, like, when businesses come in, more money is coming into your city, which helps support the city. So, you gotta weigh the good with the bad. Yeah.
Let me, I wanna go back to the golf carts. So all of Twin Lakes Crestwinds, all of y'all have all the golf cart paths. Our goal, and we're putting the puzzle together, but you'll be able to leave all the way at the far end of Twin Lakes, drive your golf cart all the way to Town Square, probably connect it to Brazelton, and go all the way up to Chateau Lawn, even on a golf cart. Now that sounds extreme, but I'm telling you, as these pieces of property that are coming together, the gentleman in the back was mentioning the Nunley property, they gave us an easement on the side of that to connect down. We're getting easements to put cart paths on all these developments to try to connect it. So that, even as the town grows with people, hopefully they will use golf carts to come to City Square or to shops and restaurants here instead of driving a vehicle. Be quicker, be more fun, hopefully it's a little safer, keeps vehicles off Highway 53. And if you have a golf cart now, you want it, you can get a City of Hoschton permit for a golf cart, you can drive it wherever you want to around town.
Yes, sir.
So you guys were talking about a mural the other day, outside of Sliced.
We are
So that road, it would be, if you're at Larry's garage, it would be facing
The end
Sliced.
wall.
So that area, I mean, if you're gonna do restaurants and stuff there, that street, if it could be relocated farther down, and it could be a golf cart slash pedestrian with outdoor tables and stuff would be really cool. And if you've ever been to Old Vegas, with the canopy in Old Vegas, that would be an attraction right there, like,
Sure.
like nothing, you've ever seen
A
before.
Fremont Street in
Fremont
Hoschton.
Street, yeah.
You never know. You just never know.
I'll interject this on the golf cart paths. The connection that Shannon was talking about that goes by the Nunley property in comes down to White Street. And so a lot of the development that's gonna be happening, the restaurants and what have you, you'll basically drive it right to the restaurant, right to the point of purchase, and can go home without even entertaining, having to deal with Highway 53 for any of that. And that's a lot of the sensitivity that I think we have when we're sitting down talking about what we're accepting, what we're not accepting. One thing I will interject, you know, obviously, I don't want to have 6 houses on every acre around my house, and I don't think many people really want that. But I think our density levels are relevant with what's in the area. And, you know, as we grow and develop over the next few years, Jackson County and the counties around are going to be growing probably into faster than we're growing right now, which we're about the fastest growing city in the state of Georgia at the moment.
Wow.
So we're going to see a lot of this on our perimeter of our city. We're going to have people wanting to come from these perimeter areas here to do business because we're going to have those businesses available. But right now, I think one of the things I hear from people is, I don't want to have to drive across 85 to go to a restaurant. I want to stay right here.
We hear that every day.
Every
We
day.
do. And she's not kidding, Jennifer's not kidding, like, we get calls, probably several a week, people dying to get their business in here. This unit, I mean, it's crazy. People wanna come and provide services to us, and it supports the community by having commercial or retail or what have you in the city.
The building we're building now, that's on that, the very end piece that's closest to this, we're pre-setting it up for a restaurant. So I would expect really by the time we're done with that building, hopefully we've got a restaurant in there finishing up about the time we are. And there'll be a new restaurant here on the square to feed it.
Yeah, this building right here.
Yes, if you didn't know,
That's gonna be
Summit
next
City
to the
Hall is gonna
coffee
be a
shop.
restaurant.
The coffee shop's right here. This will be at some sort of steakhouse or something, or whatever.
Yeah, there you go.
Some kind of
Yeah.
restaurant.
And then this is gonna be the new, council room next to it, and then this is our new city hall.
Can we get some Thai food in there?
That entire building
I have to go to the.
is gonna be between the coffee shop
And
and
Wilson's
the,
Home Decor, the old church.
okay, that's,
It's gonna take every bit of grass.
that'll be an interesting scale.
I have a question. Are the August, the 3 meetings, is that about, it is,
Property taxes.
okay, so.
I mean, we still have our
The
council
property
meeting.
taxes, what about the, school exemption tax?
That's the county.
Yeah, we don't do
We
anything
don't
like that,
do
it's all
that.
Jackson County.
And they're getting ready to do theirs too. I think theirs is in September.
And they'll be in Jefferson Public Courthouse.
Yeah, okay, thank
Yeah, look at the watch for the paper, they have to do their announcements
you. Okay.
Or the county website.
on the county website.
So we moved here from Gwinnett to, downsize, and our expenses are more. Water, people are paying $400 or $500 a month. I mean, I don't know what the heck is going on. But,
So if you live in Crestwinds, Twin Lakes, you can have an irrigation meter to water your lawn at a much reduced rate, so you're not having to pay sewer on that. If you're interested in that, call City
I
Hall.
was the first one to get it.
Yeah, there's only been about 20.
It's much cheaper to put in an irrigation meter.
Going 4 months ago, I haven't got it.
We need to have something released.
4 months ago, I haven't got it.
Oh, well, we have.
We've told you.
Yeah, I'd like to watch out.
Who's next? We've got about 10 more minutes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Bob Moran with Chrisman. There's gonna be a Publix, as I understand it, on 53 up there near the entrance to the exit to Crestwind.
Yes, sir.
Do you know when that's going in and what's gonna be in that mall? I'm sure there's gonna be more than just a Publix.
I can tell you a little bit. I mean, they've submitted the basic plan and it's at the engineers for review. I wouldn't be surprised to see construction start by the end of the year. There is about a 48,000 square foot Publix. I think that's similar to what you see around here on the others. And it shows, if you're facing 53 to the left side of Publix, looks like some, smaller shops like you see in most of these. Yeah.
But as far as what's in there, we don't
Subway,
know.
whatever, the 3 or 4 shops beside it.
Yeah, we won't know what the stores are though. That'll get leased through.
The
That-
site it's going on is only 8 acres.
10, I think it was 10
Yeah,
acres.
under 10.
You know, and there's a big detention pond on the back of it and that kind of thing.
And that's on the same side of 53.
I would guess by the end of 23,
Yes,
it should be
it's Crestwind,
complete.
right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that hospital, or the house that used to be the hospital, who owns that and do you know? What's
Cole
the-
Hutchins owns it.
Well, the Hudgens Foundation,
Do you know anything that's gonna happen to that? Is it gonna be
nothing's in front of us on
Purpose.
that.
No, we don't have anything on that.
repurposed?
Yes, sir.
Sorry to keep talking, but do you guys have a fast food restrictions? I mean, I don't wanna see a ton of fast foods coming through, you know.
I'm sure there's something in our zoning ordinance about fast food restaurants.
And again, it would still have to be approved. It would come before us to approve it, so they can't just pop up, but we'd have to look at the ordinances.
I mean, it's the kiss of death.
Depends on the zoning.
Depends on what they wanna
It
put
depend-
there.
Yeah, it depends on the zoning. I mean, there may be places in Houston that's already zoned for that.
They don't have to go to full council.
Yeah.
Well, there was we had a zoning item on the agenda at our meeting Tuesday night that had a fast food restaurant in it that was not approved.
It was voted down. We don't approve everything, I promise.
It's in the heart of town and we don't need a gas station.
It was a
Yeah.
gas station,
Yeah,
a
I was
service
against that,
garage,
And they were trying to change zonings.
so that they could put fuel pumps.
Was that down on 53?
Yes.
Yes, it was
Across
on
from the red
53 by Town Center,
Yeah.
but it was voted, it was denied. So you don't have to worry about that one.
We appreciate it.
Who's next? What's
Just
good?
out of curiosity, the DOT, have they said any indications about doing a road widening through here? Not that I
Yeah.
want it, but it's just,
There's too many historical through here in Brasselton, there's no way to widen
awesome. So
53.
they're not talking about that.
Yeah,
But
years
there
ago-
is, DOT's talking about a bypass called the
Okay.
Hoschton bypass.
They've been talking about that for 20 years.
Yeah. I've only heard of it
But that's how
once or
DOT
twice.
works. I mean, you know, and we may have a bypass here, but probably another 20 years.
Well, there was a
Maybe
feasibility
40
agreement.
years.
The chances of this becoming like a Jimmy Carter,
No.
they just don't, that's
They
what
can't
I-
Well, Careful, don't say no.
Yeah, 'cause
Don't say no.
I mean, you're right, never say never, but I
DOT's got a big
would be
checkbook.
surprised. I'd be very surprised if that happened, at least in my lifetime.
Yes.
I remember when Jimmy Carter looked just like this.
Yeah.
I mean, I do.
Don't speak it into existence.
Do we
I remember
get,
when Pleasant Hill Road looked like this.
Yeah.
I remember when Hamilton Mill Road looked like this.
Georgia 20.
I remember when Highway 211 looked like
well,
this.
it's Georgia.
So look where we are.
Yeah.
Mahler, Georgia? Yes, sir.
Georgia.
I mean,
Went around.
Yeah, exactly. That was good.
what, 211's about to get a major upgrade from
They
the
are.
bridge going north.
All the way.
A major upgrade.
They're
It's
making
gonna be
it
a
four
traffic
lanes.
nightmare, but when it's done, it'll be a lot better.
Yeah.
But then that'll create more traffic. A lot of people want better roads, wider roads. First thing that brings is more traffic.
That's right.
Well, it brings in the developers who are not friends of cities and towns. Developers are greedy little, you know what? And,
So I'd have to disagree with that. We've got a developer just gave City of Hoschton about to give us 100 acres. We're gonna have the largest park in the
There's
state. in
exceptions to the
Texas.
rule, but I've been in the construction industry my whole life, and they're greedy. But I do have a question
The purple.
about the states.
So they gave us 100 acres
It's
too.
right behind the baseball field.
And the park will tie into the baseball field.
Do you get grants from the state? I mean, is,
Every year.
okay, I mean, we're not losing out on it, we're
Federal
applying
and
for as
state.
many as we
We
can.
apply for everything we can.
Yeah. She might as well be a full-time grant writer,
No,
cause
no.
she finds them, she
It's
I
important.
dream them. I live them.
She does,
Well, half of our first water tower is paid for by
a grant.
Well, 600,000.
600,000 of it, about
And,
that.
we just did another grant for the new tower, we're getting another, the third tower. And they're gonna give us up to 750,000 on that,
So how many water towers do we build, two?
So you got your existing one, and then we built one at, the West Jackson, that
And
you
this-
see now, and then we have one coming up at Jopina.
Okay. Great.
So would you expand on the 100 acres?
Well, this was before my turn in office, but
So that property was a little over 400 acres. Here at the corner of West Jefferson, where that hard 90-degree turn is, The whole development's gonna have about 400 or 500 single-family and townhome mixed homes in it. And it'll have 3 industrial buildings. I think it was about 1.3 million square feet. It borders the Mulberry River on the back side. And our agreement with them was, I think they're donating about 95, 97 acres to the city of Hoschton. And that borders, some of that borders the existing ball field that's down here, and the rest of it will be along what I call the bottoms, down there on the river. It was property they couldn't really use because it's in a floodplain, but it's great for passive recreation, and it's not a secret that we've been poking holes down there trying to find good well water for the city of Hoschton. So it was a win-win.
So are you gonna do walking paths and?
All that's to be determined. I mean, there's a lot of stuff floating around, and it'll be a few years before that's probably in the city's name, by the time that comes around and we get started on it, but we're really excited about that. I wouldn't be surprised if we partnered with the city of Brazelton, Jackson County. I mean, everybody that lives here pays taxes to Jackson County. And a big chunk, well, I say a big chunk, but some of that money goes to Jackson County Parks and Recreation. We own the ball field. The city of Hoschton owns the ball field down here and the front half of the one over here. But we don't do anything with it. We lease it to Jackson County for, a penny. And they completely maintain it all. So that's your tax dollars at work in the recreation department with Jackson County. So as we keep growing, we ought to be getting more and more of that money. So hopefully we'll have something really nice down on this 100-acre tract.
And y'all know we own the front half of the soccer field. That's the City of Hoschton's property, next to the old
Up here.
school. We own just the front half.
About 4 acres.
We don't own the entire soccer field.
Who owns the rest of it?
Brazelton.
Well, Jackson County Park and Rec maintain it.
But Brazelton owns the rest of it.
But Brazelton
The
owns the
city of
back,
Brazelton.
the back of it, and they just purchased the school.
What are they doing with that school?
Purchased the school.
We don't
That's
know.
Brazelton.
Yeah, we don't know.
So Brazelton purchased that school?
Yes.
That school? I noticed they took the signs down, so
Yeah.
do y'all know what they're gonna do with that?
We don't know.
Have you heard?
Where is that?
The school up on Highway 53.
The old school, right next to the soccer field, so if you turn
Right
on 53.
Okay.
Right across from the dentist office.
It's an old school that's been closed for quite some time, that Brazelton purchased.
I went to elementary school there.
I did too.
It was built in the early 60s and was Jackson County High School, grade 1 through 12, until 1979, when it moved to Jefferson.
Wow.
And then it was used as just an elementary school till about 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Was it only closed 5 years ago?
About 5
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
And then they moved it all over here to East Jefferson
They
Street.
did an extra wing over there.
Yep. Yeah, it's only been closed completely for about 5 years.
But it wouldn't surprise me to see a school going there, honestly. Could be wrong.
Brazelton will do something unique with that. I expect we'll all be pleased when
It'll
they
be
go
something
in.
nice.
Yeah. So you're gonna start having this once a month?
Our goal is to do it once a month and
If
kind
y'all
of
come.
Just when people come.
Based
y'all
on the
come, we'll
turnout,
do
yeah,
it.
once a month.
So I would say it's Thursday, by the middle of next week, we'll have our date ready for next month.
And where do we find that?
I posted on my page, the website posted it, we can put it in the water bills that get
We did
mailed
put the
out.
water bills. How did you find out about it?
From our Facebook group and Crestwood.
Okay, we did reach out to the HOAs. So
They sent an email out with the
Oh,
flyer.
good.
Oh, good.
And I appreciate it on board.
Yeah, it's on the board.
Good, thank you.
It's 7 o'clock.
Anybody last minute questions?
Thank y'all for coming.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.